Raya's trembling fingers close around the human soldier's ration bar, her sunken eyes meeting his with a mix of fear and desperate gratitude. In the ravaged marketplace of Gamelon City, this simple act of kindness ignites a chain of events that will alter the course of two civilizations. The acrid smell of smoke hangs heavy in the air as Raya, a young Gamelon female, picks through the rubble of what was once a thriving market. Her emaciated form moves with a quiet desperation, searching for anything edible among the twisted metal and shattered concrete. The Gamelon human war has left her world in ruins, transforming the once prosperous capital into a wasteland of shattered dreams and empty stomachs. A sudden commotion catches Raya's attention. She freezes, her heart racing, as she spots a patrol of Earth Defense Force soldiers entering the marketplace. Their heavy boots crunch on debris as they sweep the area, weapons at the ready. Raya shrinks back, trying to make herself invisible among the wreckage. She's heard whispered stories of human brutality, tales that have kept her hidden and wary. Leading the patrol is Sergeant Justin Taylor, his keen eyes scanning the devastation around him. The EDF's mission to maintain order in occupied Gamelon territories weighs heavily on him. As he surveys the bombed-out stalls and crumbling buildings, a flicker of movement catches his eye. He spots Raya, her alien features gaunt with hunger, desperately searching for sustenance. Justin hesitates, his orders to minimize interactions with locals echoing in his mind. But something about the young Gamelon's plight strikes a chord within him. Against his better judgment, he approaches Raya, reaching into his pack for a field ration. "Here," he says softly, extending the food towards her. Raya recoils at first, her instincts screaming danger, but the gnawing emptiness in her stomach overpowers her fear. She reaches out, accepting the offering with trembling hands. As their eyes meet, Justin is struck by Raya's alien beauty, even in her malnourished state. There's a resilience in her gaze that speaks of untold hardships endured. For a moment, the war fades away, and they're just two beings sharing a moment of connection amidst the chaos. Unbeknownst to them, their interaction has not gone unnoticed. In the shadows of a collapsed building, a group of Gamelon resistance fighters watch with keen interest. They see potential in this unexpected alliance, a chance to infiltrate the human forces and turn the tide of the war. Meanwhile, Justin's fellow soldiers shift uneasily, exchanging worried glances. "Sarge," one of them warns, "remember the briefing. No fraternizing with the enemy." Justin nods, acknowledging the warning, but can't bring himself to regret his actions. As he turns to rejoin his patrol, he casts one last glance at Raya, a silent promise passing between them. High above Gamelon's war-torn surface, in the cold vacuum of space, the human flagship receives a transmission that will change everything. Earth Command's message crackles through the ship's communication system, its contents sending a chill through the crew. "Attention all forces. A deadly alien pathogen has been detected on multiple human-controlled worlds. Initial reports suggest Gamelon involvement. Possible last-ditch effort to turn the tide of war. Increase security measures immediately. Authorization granted for harsher treatment of Gamelon civilians. Earth Command out." As the transmission ends, a heavy silence falls over the bridge. The implications of this news are staggering, threatening to escalate an already brutal conflict to new heights of violence and suffering. For Raya, Justin, and countless others caught in the crossfire, the struggle for survival is about to become even more desperate. The ominous transmission from Earth Command hung heavy in the air, casting a shadow over the already bleak landscape of Gamelon City. As the sun rose on another day of occupation, Sergeant Justin Taylor found himself unable to shake the memory of the young Gamelon female he had encountered in the marketplace. Days passed, and Justin's thoughts continually drifted back to Raya's haunting eyes and the fleeting moment of connection they had shared. Against his better judgment, he began to secretly leave small care packages near the area where they had first met. Under the cover of routine patrols, Justin would discreetly drop off rations, water purification tablets, and basic medical supplies. Unbeknownst to Justin, his actions had not gone unnoticed. His fellow soldiers exchanged wary glances as they observed their sergeant's increasingly frequent detours. In the shadows of bombed-out buildings, members of the Gamelon resistance watched with keen interest, seeing potential in this unexpected display of compassion. As tensions escalated in the wake of the bioweapon scare, the Earth Defense Force tightened its grip on the occupied territories. Checkpoints sprung up overnight, and Gamelon civilians were herded into makeshift screening centers. The acrid smell of disinfectant mingled with the ever-present scent of smoke and decay. During one such screening, Justin's heart leapt as he spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Raya stood in line, her once vibrant skin now ashen, her frame even more gaunt than before. Without hesitation, Justin made his way through the throng of people. "You there?" he called out, gesturing to Raya. "Come with me for a private screening." Raya's eyes widened in recognition, a mix of fear and hope flashing across her features. She followed Justin to a secluded area behind a crumbling wall, away from prying eyes. Once alone, Justin quickly produced a small med kit and additional rations from his pack. "Here," he said softly, pressing the supplies into her hands. "Take these. You need to keep your strength up." As Justin tended to a small cut on Raya's arm, their eyes met. The air between them seemed to crackle with an unexpected energy. Raya's alien features, so different from his own, held an undeniable beauty that made Justin's breath catch in his throat. Their moment of intimacy was shattered by a sharp voice cutting through the air. "Sergeant Taylor, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Justin spun around to find Captain Marcus Harding glaring at him, his face a mask of terrifying fury. The captain's eyes darted between Justin and Raya, his jaw clenching visibly. "Sir, I was just—" Justin began, but Harding cut him off with a raised hand. "Save it, Sergeant. My office now." Harding turned his unwavering focus to Raya. "And you, back to the screening area. Move." As Justin followed his superior officer, he cast one last glance at Raya. The look of fear and uncertainty on her face made his heart ache. In the days that followed, Justin found himself under increased scrutiny. He could feel the weight of suspicious glances from his fellow soldiers, particularly during patrols near the marketplace. Despite the risks, he couldn't bring himself to abandon his clandestine aid efforts entirely. One evening, as Justin prepared for another covert drop-off, he was approached by Corporal Alex Chen, his closest friend in the unit. "Justin, man, we need to talk," Alex said, his voice low and urgent. "What's going on with you and that Gamelon girl?" Justin hesitated, weighing his words carefully. "It's not what you think, Alex. I'm just trying to help. You've seen how they're suffering." Alex's expression softened slightly, but concern still etched his features. "I get it, but you're playing a dangerous game. Remember what these people did to Earth, the colonies they destroyed, the lives lost." Justin nodded, the weight of the war's history pressing down on him. "I know, Alex, believe me, I know. But seeing them up close like this, it's not as black and white as we thought." As they spoke, neither man noticed the shadowy figure observing their conversation from a nearby alley. Commander Zara of the Gamelon Resistance melted back into the darkness, a plan forming in her mind. The following day, as Raya scavenged for supplies in an abandoned apartment complex, she was startled by a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Commander Zara and two other Resistance members standing before her. "We've been watching you, Raya," Zara said, her voice a mix of steel and silk. "Your connection to the human sergeant could be valuable to our cause." Raya's heart raced as she realized the implications of Zara's words. The commander continued, outlining a plan to use Raya's growing relationship with Justin to gather intelligence on EDF operations and the alleged bioweapon. As Zara spoke, Raya felt a knot forming in her stomach. The thought of betraying Justin's trust filled her with a sense of shame, but the memory of her people's suffering steeled her perseverance. "Will you help us, Raya?" Zara asked, her eyes boring into the young Gamelons. After a moment of hesitation, Raya nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, I'll do it." Little did Raya know that her decision would set in motion a chain of events that would test the limits of loyalty, love, and the very foundations of the fragile peace between their two species. As night fell over Gamelon City, the streets emptied in compliance with the newly imposed curfew. In the eerie stillness, a lone figure made its way through the shadows. Justin moved with purpose, his heart pounding as he approached the predetermined meeting spot outside the city limits. There, in the shelter of a ruined building, Raya waited. As Justin drew near, the moonlight caught her features, and for a moment all thoughts of war and duty faded away. They stood facing each other, two beings from different worlds, drawn together by an impossible connection. As they began to speak in hushed tones, neither Justin nor Raya was aware of the forces converging around them. In the distance, the newly arrived Dr. Elena Reeves pored over data in her makeshift lab, seeking answers to the bioweapon mystery. And in the heart of the occupied city, both human and Gamelon factions watched and waited, each with their own agenda for the star-crossed pair. The die was cast, and the future of two civilizations hung in the balance in its grasp. The fates of Justin, Raya, and countless others teetered on a knife's edge, their decisions poised to shape the future of two worlds. As dawn broke over Gamelon City, the aftermath of Justin and Raya's clandestine meeting rippled through the occupied streets. The Earth Defense Force tightened its iron grip, implementing harsher curfews and increasing the frequency of raids on suspected resistance hideouts. The once bustling metropolis now resembled a ghost town, its inhabitants scurrying like shadows between crumbling buildings. Justin found himself caught in a maelstrom of conflicting emotions as he patrolled the desolate streets. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of his growing feelings for Raya at odds with his duty as an EDF soldier. He couldn't shake the image of her alien eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and hope, from his mind. The crackling of his comm unit shattered his reverie. All units converge on Sector 7, suspected resistance activity at the community center. Captain Harding leading the operation. Justin's heart raced as he double-timed it to the designated location. Sector 7 was where he had last seen Raya. As he arrived at the community center, he found it surrounded by EDF troops, their weapons trained on the entrance. Captain Harding's voice cut through the tension. "Breach and clear. I want every Gamelon in there rounded up for questioning." The doors burst open, and EDF soldiers flooded into the building. Justin followed, his eyes scanning the crowd of terrified Gamelons. His breath caught in his throat as he spotted a familiar face among the huddled masses. Raya. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, a silent plea passing between them. Justin's mind raced, searching for a way to protect her without arousing suspicion. Captain Harding strode into the center, his piercing gaze sweeping over the gathered Gamelons. "Search every corner of this place. I want all data terminals seized and every one of these aliens interrogated." As the soldiers began their work, a new figure entered the scene. Dr. Elena Reeves, her lab coat a stark contrast to the military uniform surrounding her, approached Captain Harding. "Captain, I need to collect biological samples from these Gamelons," she stated, her voice calm but authoritative. "It's crucial for my research into the bioweapon threat." Harding nodded curtly. "Make it quick, Doctor. We don't have all day." As Dr. Reeves began her work, Justin maneuvered himself closer to Raya, using the commotion as cover. He noticed a subtle change in her demeanor, a tension in her shoulders, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Unbeknownst to Justin, Commander Zara of the Gamelon Resistance watched from the shadows, her features hidden beneath a civilian disguise. She observed Justin's protective stance near Raya, confirming her suspicions about their relationship. As the interrogations intensified, Justin found himself torn between his duty and his instinct to protect Raya. He subtly deflected the harshest questioning away from her, an action that didn't go unnoticed by the keen-eyed Zara. In the chaos of the raid, Raya seized a moment of distraction to slip close to Justin. Her hand brushed against his, leaving behind a small data chip. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "This proves we're not responsible for the bioweapon. You have to believe me." Justin's fingers closed around the chip, his heart pounding. He nodded imperceptibly, tucking it away before anyone could notice the exchange. As the raid concluded, Captain Harding made his final pronouncement. "Take these ones for further questioning," he ordered, pointing to a group that included Raya. Justin stepped forward, his voice steady despite his inner turmoil. "Sir, I volunteer to oversee the prisoner transfer." Harding's eyes narrowed, studying Justin for a moment before nodding his assent. As they loaded the Gamelon prisoners onto the transport, Justin's mind raced, formulating a plan. He couldn't let Raya be subjected to further interrogation. As the transport rumbled through the war-torn streets, Justin made his move. Feigning a mechanical issue, he ordered the transport to pull over in a secluded area. In the ensuing confusion, he created a diversion that allowed Raya to slip away unnoticed. As Raya disappeared into the shadows of a bombed-out building, their eyes met one last time. In that fleeting moment, Justin knew he had crossed a line from which there was no return. Back at the EDF base, Justin secluded himself in a quiet corner, heart pounding as he accessed the data chip Raya had given him. The information that scrolled across his screen left him reeling. If true, it suggested a far more complex and sinister situation than anyone had imagined. As night fell over Gamelon City, Justin received an encrypted message on his personal comm unit. Raya's voice, filled with urgency, came through. "Justin, I need your help. Meet me at the abandoned industrial complex on the outskirts of the city. Please, you're the only one I can trust." Justin stared at the message, aware that his next decision would change everything. With a deep breath, he made his choice. Slipping out of the base under the cover of darkness, he set off towards the meeting point, unaware of the forces converging around him. In the shadows, Corporal Alex Chen watched his friend go. Conflicted loyalty etched on his features. Captain Harding's orders echoed in his mind. "Follow him. Find out what he's up to." As Justin made his way through the ruins of Gamelon City, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of both human and Gamelon societies. The truth about the bioweapon, the fate of two civilizations, and the future of Justin and Raya's forbidden relationship hung in the balance, waiting to be decided in the crucible of the coming night. Justin's heart pounded as he approached the abandoned industrial complex on the outskirts of Gamelon City. The twin moons cast an eerie glow over the rusted machinery and crumbling buildings, creating a labyrinth of shadows. He moved cautiously, every sense on high alert, searching for any sign of Raya. A flicker of movement caught his eye. There, emerging from behind a collapsed wall, was Raya. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the world around them faded away. Justin felt a surge of emotion as he moved towards her, their shared connection palpable in the air between them. But their reunion was short-lived. As they drew closer, figures materialized from the darkness. Commander Zara and her Gamelon resistance fighters surrounded them, weapons raised. Justin froze, his hand instinctively moving towards his sidearm. "Don't even think about it, human," Zara's voice cut through the tension. "Surrender now and hand over any EDF intelligence you possess." Justin's mind raced, assessing his options. He glanced at Raya, expecting to see fear in her eyes. Instead, he saw perseverance as she positioned herself between him and the resistance fighters. "Commander, please," Raya pleaded, her voice steady. "This isn't the way. We need to listen to what he has to say." Zara's eyes narrowed, her plan clearly thrown into disarray by Raya's unexpected intervention. The standoff stretched on, the air thick with tension. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from behind them. Corporal Alex Chen, who had been tailing Justin, opened fire on the Gamelon resistance. Chaos ensued as both sides scrambled for cover. Justin seized the opportunity, grabbing Raya's hand. "This way!" he shouted, pulling her towards a nearby warehouse. They sprinted through the debris-strewn ground, narrowly avoiding the crossfire. Inside the warehouse, Justin and Raya found themselves alone, their heavy breathing echoing in the cavernous space. The adrenaline of the moment, combined with their long-suppressed feelings, overwhelmed them. Without a word, they came together in a passionate embrace. Their lips met, and the world fell away. The kiss deepened, hands exploring, as they gave in to their desires. In that moment, the differences between their species seemed to vanish, replaced by a primal connection that transcended their conflict. Outside, the battle raged on. Commander Zara's voice could be heard over the gunfire, ordering her fighters to capture Justin alive. Alex's voice responded with commitment, calling for EDF reinforcements as he held off the Gamelon forces. The sounds of combat brought Justin and Raya back to reality. They separated, breathing heavily, their eyes locked on each other. Justin made a decision. "Raya, there's something you need to know," he said urgently. He quickly explained the information from the data chip, detailing Dr. Reeves's findings about a possible third party behind the bioweapon attack. Raya's eyes widened in shock. "This changes everything," she whispered. We have to find a way to make this public, to end this war before—" Her words were cut short as the warehouse door burst open. Commander Zara and her fighters poured in, weapons trained on Justin and Raya. "Raya, step away from him," Zara commanded, her voice cold. In the chaos that followed, Justin and Raya were torn apart. Raya was grabbed by the resistance fighters, while Justin managed to slip away, diving through a hidden tunnel he had spotted earlier. Justin crawled through the narrow passage, his military training kicking in as he navigated the darkness. He emerged on the other side only to find himself face to face with Captain Marcus Harding and a squad of EDF soldiers. Harding's face contorted with fury. "Sergeant, you are under arrest for desertion and fraternization with the enemy." As two soldiers grabbed Justin's arms, he struggled to explain. "Captain, wait, you don't understand. There's crucial information." "Save it for your court-martial," Harding snapped, cutting him off. The industrial complex had devolved into a war zone. EDF forces clashed with the Gamelon resistance, the night air filled with the sound of gunfire and explosions. In the midst of the chaos, a figure in a lab coat approached the scene. Dr. Elena Reeves watched in horror as the battle unfolded before her. She had tracked the biological signatures from her earlier samples, hoping to uncover more about the mysterious bioweapon. Now she realized that the key to unraveling this mystery might be lost in the ongoing conflict. As Justin was led away in handcuffs, he caught a final glimpse of Raya being taken by the resistance fighters. Their eyes met one last time, filled with a mixture of longing and desperation. In that moment, they both knew that the events of this night had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the conflict between their people. The battle raged on, with casualties mounting on both sides. The once abandoned industrial complex was now a smoldering ruin, a testament to the destructive power of their ongoing war. As the EDF transport carrying Justin sped away from the scene, he could only wonder what consequences awaited him, and what future lay ahead for both humans and Gamelons in the wake of this night's revelations. The battle at the industrial complex faded into an uneasy silence, leaving behind a landscape of twisted metal and smoldering ruins. As the transport carrying Justin sped away, the weight of his actions settled heavily upon him. Within hours, Justin found himself in a stark, high-security holding cell at the EDF base. The cold metal walls seemed to close in around him as he paced the small space, his mind racing with the implications of the information he possessed and the dire consequences he now faced. Captain Harding's face was a mask of almost unchecked fury as he stood outside the cell, glaring at Justin through the reinforced glass. "I hope it was worth it, Sergeant," he spat. "Desertion, fraternization with the enemy. You'll be lucky if you don't face a firing squad." Justin stepped forward, his hands pressed against the glass. "Sir, please, you have to listen. The information on that data chip—" "Save your lies for the court-martial." Harding cut him off, turning on his heel and stalking away. As the days passed, Justin's requests to speak with his superiors were consistently denied. He could only imagine what was happening beyond the confines of his cell, his thoughts constantly drifting to Raya and the danger she must be in. Unbeknownst to Justin, Raya was indeed in peril. Deep within the hidden underground base of the Gamelon resistance, she sat bound to a chair, her eyes defiant as Commander Zara paced before her. "I expected better from you, Raya," Zara said, her voice cold. "Consorting with the enemy, betraying your own people. What did you tell him?" Raya lifted her chin, meeting Zara's gaze. "I told him the truth, that we're not responsible for the bioweapon. There's more going on here than you realize, Commander." Zara's hand struck out, slapping Raya across the face. "Enough! You'll tell us everything you know about the EDF's plans, or you'll face the consequences of your treason." As Raya endured her interrogation, Dr. Elena Reeves worked tirelessly in her lab at the EDF base. Her fingers flew across the holographic display, analyzing the complex structure of the bioweapon pathogen. As the results of her latest test appeared, her eyes widened in shock. "This can't be," she murmured, double-checking the data. The pathogen's structure was unlike anything she had ever seen, a perfect fusion of human and Gamelon biology, far beyond the current capabilities of either species. Dr. Reeves immediately requested an audience with Captain Harding, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. As she left his office, frustration evident on her face, she nearly collided with Corporal Alex Chen. Alex's brow furrowed as he recognized the doctor. "Dr. Reeves, is everything all right?" She hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. "It's about the bioweapon. And Justin. Something's not right here, Corporal. I need to speak with him." Alex's expression hardened. He glanced around to ensure they were alone, then leaned in close. "Meet me in Lab 3 at 2300 hours. There's something you need to see." As night fell over the EDF base, Alex made his way to the high-security server room. Using his clearance, he accessed the terminal and inserted the data chip he had recovered from Justin's belongings. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the information, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. At the appointed time, Alex met Dr. Reeves in the deserted lab. "Doctor, what I'm about to show you could get us both court-martialed," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He handed her a data pad containing the information from Justin's chip. As Dr. Reeves read, her face paled. "This confirms my findings. The bioweapon, it's not of human or Gamelon origin. We're dealing with something far beyond our understanding." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps in the corridor. Alex quickly pocketed the datapad as the lab door slid open, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Xander Voss. "Dr. Reeves," Voss said, his voice carrying an undercurrent of threat, "I understand you've made some interesting discoveries about our Gamelon friends. I'll need all of your research turned over to my team immediately." Dr. Reeves straightened, meeting the Admiral's gaze. "With all due respect, sir, my work is not yet complete. I need more time to—" "That wasn't a request, Doctor," Voss cut her off. "By order of EDF High Command, your lab is now under my jurisdiction. You'll be escorted to your quarters and confined there until further notice." As a pair of armed guards entered the lab, Alex's hand tightened around the datapad in his pocket. He knew that the time for action had come. With a subtle nod to Dr. Reeves, he slipped out of the lab, his mind already formulating a plan to free Justin and expose the truth. In the Gamelon resistance base, a small group of moderates had gathered in secret. Among them was Lyra, a young scientist who had worked closely with Raya before the war. "We can't let Commander Zara continue this interrogation," Lyra whispered urgently. "Raya's information could be the key to ending this conflict. We need to get her out." The others nodded in agreement, their faces set with willpower. As they began to outline their plan, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. "Intruder alert! All personnel to battle stations!" Commander Zara's voice echoed through the corridors. In the confusion, Lyra saw her opportunity. She slipped away from the group and made her way to Raya's holding cell. Using an override code, she disabled the lock and rushed inside. Raya looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. "Lyra, what's happening?" "No time to explain," Lyra said, quickly freeing Raya from her restraints. "We're getting you out of here." As chaos erupted in both the EDF base and the Gamelon Resistance headquarters, Justin and Raya found themselves at the center of two daring escape attempts. Neither of them knew that their paths were about to converge once again, setting in motion a chain of events that would shake the foundations of the conflict between their peoples. High above the planet, hidden from the sensors of both human and Gamelon forces, the cloaked ship of the architects maintained its silent vigil. Within its sleek hull, beings of unimaginable intelligence watched the unfolding drama with cold, calculating interest. Their experiment was entering its final crucial phase, and the actions of Justin and Raya would determine the fate of both their species. As alarms blared and shouts echoed through the corridors of their respective prisons, Justin and Raya each took their first steps towards freedom, unaware of the cosmic forces that had brought them to this moment. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reveal the truth behind the bioweapon and forever alter the course of the human-Gamelon war. The cloaked ship of the architects vanished into the night sky, leaving behind a planet on the brink of chaos. In Gamelon City, alarms blared and searchlights swept across the streets as both EDF and Gamelon forces mobilized to recapture their escaped prisoners. Justin's heart pounded as he crouched behind a pile of rubble, listening to the approaching footsteps of an EDF patrol. Corporal Alex Chen appeared at his side, eyes alert and weapon ready. "We need to move," Alex whispered urgently. "I know a route through the old industrial sector that should get us to the outskirts." Justin nodded, his mind racing. "What about Raya? We can't leave her behind." As if in answer, a commotion erupted from a nearby alleyway. They peered around the corner to see Raya engaged in hand-to-hand combat with two Gamilon resistance fighters. Her movements were fluid and precise, a testament to her military training. "There's our chance," Alex said, raising his weapon. "Cover me!" They sprang into action, Justin providing suppressing fire while Alex charged forward. The sudden assault caught the Gamilon fighters off guard, allowing Raya to break free and join her unlikely allies. "Perfect timing," she gasped, a hint of a smile playing on her lips despite the gravity of their situation. The trio wasted no time, plunging into the labyrinth of war-torn streets. Alex led the way, his intimate knowledge of EDF patrol patterns proving invaluable as they navigated through the chaos of Gamilon City. They ducked into an abandoned building, chests heaving as they caught their breath. In the dim light, Justin and Raya's eyes met. Without a word, they came together in a fierce embrace, their lips meeting with an urgency born of fear and longing. Alex cleared his throat, breaking the moment. "Sorry to interrupt, but we've got company." The sound of heavy boots echoed from the street outside. They pressed themselves against the walls, barely daring to breathe as a squad of EDF soldiers passed by. "We can't keep this up forever," Raya whispered once the coast was clear. "We need a plan." Justin's mind raced, recalling the intelligence reports he'd memorized. "Wait, I think I know a place. There's an old Gamilon research facility not far from here. It was abandoned early in the war." Raya's eyes widened in recognition. "I know the one. It's in the foothills just beyond the city limits." "It's risky," Alex warned, "but it might be our best shot at finding evidence to clear your names." With renewed purpose, they set out once more, slipping through the shadows of the city. As they neared the outskirts, the urban landscape gave way to overgrown fields and crumbling structures. The research facility loomed before them, a dark silhouette against the star-filled sky. Its dilapidated exterior belied the secrets it held within. They approached cautiously, alert for any signs of activity. "This place gives me the creeps," Alex muttered as they entered through a rusted side door. The interior was a maze of corridors and abandoned labs. Dust-covered equipment and scattered documents hinted at the facility's hasty evacuation. As they explored deeper, the architecture began to change, becoming sleeker and more advanced. "This doesn't look like Gamilon tech," Raya observed, running her hand along a smooth metallic wall. They came to a sealed door, its surface unmarked by any visible locking mechanism. Justin stepped forward, drawn by an inexplicable urge. As his hand neared the door, it slid open with a soft hiss. "How did you—" Alex began, but his words died in his throat as they took in the sight before them. The hidden lab was a stark contrast to the rest of the facility. Advanced equipment hummed with latent energy. Holographic displays flickered to life at their approach. At the center stood a pillar of light, pulsing with an otherworldly glow. "What is this place?" Raya breathed, her eyes wide with wonder and apprehension. Before anyone could respond, a piercing alarm shattered the silence. Red lights flashed as an automated voice echoed through the chamber. "Alert! Unauthorized presence detected. Security protocols activated." The ground beneath their feet trembled as ancient machinery whirred to life. Panels slid open in the walls, revealing rows of dormant robotic sentinels. "We need to find what we came for and get out of here. Fast!" Justin shouted over the din. They split up, frantically searching the lab for any information that could shed light on the bioweapon's true origins. Alex managed to access a computer terminal, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. "I've got something," he called out. "These logs, they're talking about experiments conducted by an unknown species. It's not human or Gamilon." As Justin and Raya crowded around the terminal, the air in the center of the room began to shimmer. A figure materialized. Tall, ethereal, and undeniably alien. Its form seemed to shift and change, defying their attempts to focus on any one feature. The being's voice resonated in their minds, a cascade of incomprehensible sounds that somehow conveyed meaning. "System diagnostic complete. preparing final phase initialization. The trio stood frozen, caught between awe and terror as the realization dawned on them. They were face to face with one of the architects, the mysterious force behind the conflict that had torn their worlds apart. Outside the facility, Commander Zara and Captain Harding found themselves in an uneasy standoff, their forces surrounding the building. The sudden surge of energy readings from within forced them to reassess their priorities. "What the hell is going on in there?" Harding demanded, his comm link crackling with panicked reports from his squad. Zara's eyes narrowed as she studied the readouts on her tactical display. "Whatever it is, it's like nothing we've ever seen. We need to get inside." As they prepared to breach the facility, a new threat appeared on the horizon. EDF bombers streaked across the sky, their payload promising total destruction. Inside the lab, Justin, Raya, and Alex scrambled to download as much data as they could, while the architect continued its inscrutable activities. The facility shuddered under the impact of the first bombs, debris raining down around them. "We need to get out of here now," Alex shouted, disconnecting from the terminal. As if in response to their desperation, a section of the wall slid away, revealing a hidden hangar. Within sat a spacecraft unlike anything they had ever seen, its sleek lines and pulsing energy, core speaking of technology far beyond their own. "It's our only chance," Justin said, pulling Raya towards the ship. As they approached, the craft's systems hummed to life, responding to Raya's presence. A hatch opened, inviting them inside. "How are we supposed to fly this thing?" Alex asked as they scrambled into the cockpit. Raya's hands moved across the controls as if guided by an unseen force. I think I can do it," she said, her voice filled with wonder. The ship rose, its advanced shielding protecting them as the facility crumbled around them. With a burst of energy, they shot through the collapsing roof and into the night sky, leaving behind a maelstrom of confusion and destruction. As they climbed higher, the full scope of their situation became clear. Below, EDF and Gamelon forces scrambled to make sense of the alien craft's sudden appearance. Above, the vast expanse of space beckoned, promising both freedom and unknown perils. Justin, Raya, and Alex exchanged glances, the weight of their newfound knowledge and responsibility settling upon them. They had uncovered a truth that could change everything, but their journey was not nearly finished. With both their peoples in pursuit in the mysteries of the architects yet to be unraveled, they set course for the stars, their destination unknown, but their purpose clear. The alien ship streaked across the sky, a beacon of hope and a harbinger of change for two war-torn civilizations. As Gamelon City faded into the distance, Justin took Raya's hand, their fingers intertwining. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Together, unbreakable despite the chaos that surrounded them. As the alien ship streaked through the atmosphere, Justin, Raya, and Alex found themselves grappling with unfamiliar controls. The craft's sleek interior pulsed with an otherworldly energy, holographic displays flickering to life around them. "How are you doing this?" Alex asked, his eyes wide as Raya's fingers danced across the ethereal interface. Raya shook her head, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I'm not entirely sure. It's like the ship is responding to my thoughts." Justin leaned forward, studying the rapidly changing star maps and data streams that materialized before them. "Look at this. It's showing us the entire sector, including EDF and Gamelon fleet movements." As if on cue, a cluster of red dots appeared on the holographic display, rapidly closing in on their position. "We've got company," Alex warned, his military training kicking in. "Both EDF and Gamelon ships closing fast." Raya's hands moved with increasing confidence over the controls. "We need somewhere to hide, to figure out what we've stumbled into." Justin's mind raced, recalling his strategic briefings. "Xenos," he said suddenly. "The moon of Gamelon. It's got terrain so rough most ships can't navigate it, and there are abandoned mining facilities we could use for cover." Raya nodded, adjusting their course. As they approached the cratered surface of Xenos, the ship shuddered, its exterior shimmering like a mirage. "What's happening?" Alex asked, gripping his seat. "Some kind of cloaking technology," Raya replied, her voice filled with awe. "We're passing right through the EDF blockade, and they can't see us. The alien craft glided silently over Xenos' desolate landscape, eventually settling in a narrow canyon hidden from orbital scans. As the engines powered down, the trio sat in stunned silence, the reality of their situation sinking in. "We made it," Justin breathed, squeezing Raya's hand. "Now let's see what secrets this ship is hiding." They began to explore the craft's database, holographic screens materializing at their touch. Alex let out a low whistle as he scrolled through pages of alien text that somehow translated itself into comprehensible information. "Guys, you need to see this," he called out, his face pale. "It's talking about some kind of long-term experiment, something called species manipulation." Justin and Raya huddled around the display, their eyes widening as they absorbed the implications of what they were reading. "Both humans and gamelons," Raya murmured, her voice shaking. "We were part of their plan all along. The bioweapon, it wasn't just a weapon, it was a catalyst." Justin's lips pursed as he read further. "A test to see if we destroy each other or unite against a common enemy. These architects, they've been pulling our strings from the shadows." As they delved deeper into the ship's systems, Raya's hand brushed against a pulsing symbol. The air around them hummed, and a shimmering figure materialized in the center of the cabin. "Greetings," a melodious voice echoed in their minds. "I am Arya, Architect Reconnaissance and Intelligence Assistant. My activation protocols have been satisfied by the presence of both human and gamelon DNA aboard this vessel." The trio exchanged shocked glances. Alex's hand instinctively moved to his weapon, but Justin held up a hand, signaling caution. "Arya?" Justin addressed the AI, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "We need answers. What is the purpose of this ship? Why were humans and gamelons part of the architect's experiment?" As Arya began to explain the intricacies of the architect's grand design, a transmission crackled through the ship's communication system. Dr. Reeves's desperate voice filled the cabin. "To anyone who can hear this," she pleaded, "I've discovered a way to neutralize the bioweapon. But I need help. The solution requires both human and gamelon technology. Please, if you're out there, respond." Raya's fingers flew over the controls, decoding the encrypted data burst that accompanied the message. Her eyes lit up with understanding. "She's right," Raya exclaimed. "The pathogen can be neutralized by a specific radiation frequency, but generating it would require a power source like this ship." Justin finished, the pieces falling into place. Their moment of revelation was cut short as Arya's voice took on an urgent tone. "Alert! Multiple vessels entering Xenos' atmosphere. Scans indicate a joint EDF Gamelon task force led by Admiral Voss." Alex's tactical mind kicked into overdrive. "They've found us! We're out of time!" Justin and Raya shared a look of willpower. "We need to broadcast the truth," Raya said. "About the architects, the bioweapon, everything." "Arya," Justin commanded, "can you send a wideband transmission to both human and gamelon forces?" "Affirmative," the AI responded, preparing transmission protocols. As they worked feverishly to compile the data, the ship's sensors detected the approaching forces. The canyon walls echoed with the sound of distant engines. "Transmission complete," Arya announced. "However, I must inform you that the ship's power core has sustained damage. Current energy levels are critical." The trio faced a moment of truth. Stay and risk capture, or attempt a dangerous escape with a failing power core. "We have to try," Raya said, her hands already moving to the ship's controls. "Justin, help me with the reboot sequence." As their hands met on the control panel, a surge of energy pulsed through the ship. Displays flickered and came to life with renewed vigor. The power core stabilized, humming with an intensity that surprised even Arya. "Unprecedented energy signature detected," the AI reported. "New capabilities unlocked. Preparing for emergency launch." The ship rose from the canyon floor, its systems responding to Justin and Raya's combined presence in ways they couldn't have imagined. As they burst into the skies above Xenos, narrowly evading Voss's forces, they knew their actions had set in motion events that would forever alter the course of human and gamelon history. With the truth about the architects now public and the means to combat the bioweapon in the hands of both species, Justin, Raya, and Alex found themselves venturing into the unknown. The vast expanse of space stretched before them, holding both the promise of answers and the threat of confrontation with the enigmatic architects. As the alien ship carried them deeper into the cosmic abyss, Justin and Raya's hands remained intertwined, their unique bond a symbol of the potential for unity between their peoples. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and the weight of two civilizations' futures. But in that moment, as stars streaked past the viewport, they allowed themselves a glimmer of hope for what lay beyond. As the alien ship carried them deeper into the cosmic abyss, Justin and Raya's hands remained intertwined, their unique bond a symbol of the potential for unity between their peoples. The journey ahead was uncertain, but they allowed themselves a moment of hope as they gazed at the star-filled expanse before them. Their reverie was interrupted by a sudden alert from the ship's advanced sensors. Alex leaned forward, studying the holographic display with intense focus. "What is it?" Justin asked, moving to join him. Alex's eyes widened as he interpreted the data. "There's something out there, an artificial structure hidden in that asteroid field." He pointed to a dense cluster of space rocks looming ahead. Raya's fingers danced across the control interface, bringing up more detailed scans. "It's definitely not of human or Gamelon origin," she said, her voice tinged with excitement and apprehension. "Could it be—" "An architect outpost," Justin finished, his pulse quickening. "This could be our chance to gather crucial information about their plans." Arya's melodious voice filled the cabin. "Correct. The structure's energy signature matches known architect technology. However, I must caution that approaching the outpost carries significant risk." The trio exchanged determined glances, silently agreeing that the potential rewards outweighed the danger. Raya's hands moved with newfound confidence over the controls, guiding the ship towards the treacherous asteroid field. "Activating cloaking technology," she announced as the ship's exterior shimmered, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. Justin gripped the edge of his seat as Raya skillfully maneuvered through the maze of massive space rocks. The ship's protective field hummed with energy, deflecting smaller debris that threatened to breach their defenses. "There," Alex said, pointing to a colossal asteroid that dwarfed those around it. "The outpost is built right into it." As they drew closer, the true scale of the structure became apparent. It was a marvel of alien engineering, seamlessly integrated into the asteroid's craggy surface. Sleek, otherworldly architecture contrasted sharply with the rough pitted rock. "Arya, can you find us a way in?" Justin asked, scanning the outpost's exterior for any sign of an entry point. "Affirmative," the AI responded. "I am detecting a concealed docking bay, bypassing security protocols now." The ship glided silently towards a section of the asteroid that suddenly split open, revealing a cavernous hangar. They touched down gently, the sound of the ship's systems powering down echoing in the vast space. "We're in?" Raya breathed, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and anticipation. As they prepared to disembark, Justin turned to Arya. "Can you interface with the outpost systems? We'll need your help to make sense of what we find in there." "Of course," Arya replied. "I will establish a connection and assist in translating any architect data streams or interfaces you encounter." The trio stepped out of the ship, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence of the hangar. The air was thin but breathable, likely maintained by some unseen life support system. They moved cautiously, weapons at the ready, as they made their way deeper into the facility. The corridors they traversed were a testament to the architect's advanced technology. Walls pulsed with an inner light, and strange symbols flowed across surfaces like liquid. At regular intervals, they encountered artifacts of indecipherable purpose, their alien design hinting at functions beyond human or Gamelon understanding. "This place is incredible," Alex murmured, his military training momentarily overcome by awe. As they rounded a corner, they found themselves facing a massive doorway. Unlike the organic flow of the corridors, this barrier was imposing and unyielding. "Arya, what are we looking at?" Justin asked, studying the door's intricate patterns. "This appears to be the entrance to the outpost's central chamber," Arya's voice responded through their communicators. "The security protocols here are extremely advanced. One moment while I attempt to bypass them." Tense seconds ticked by as Arya worked to unlock the door. Suddenly, with a low hum, the massive barrier began to slide open. The trio raised their weapons, ready for anything as they stepped into the chamber beyond. What they saw made them freeze in their tracks. The vast room was filled with rows upon rows of stasis pods, each containing a being unlike anything they had ever seen. "By the stars!" Raya gasped, approaching one of the pods. Inside, suspended in a pale blue liquid, was a creature that appeared to be a hybrid of human and gamelan physiology. "Arya, what are we looking at here?" Justin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The AI's response was tinged with what almost sounded like concern. "Analysis complete. These pods contain genetically engineered beings that combine human and gamelan DNA. Based on the data I'm accessing, it appears these hybrids are the culmination of the architect's experiment." The implications hit them like a physical blow. Alex's face paled as he spoke. "You mean the entire war, everything we've been through?" "It was all part of their plan," Raya finished, her voice shaking. "They've been shaping our species, pushing us towards this." Justin's mind raced as he tried to process the enormity of their discovery. "We need to document everything," he said, pulling out a data recorder. "This information could change everything back home." As they moved through the chamber, meticulously recording what they found, a low hum began to fill the air. The stasis pods started to pulse with an inner light, their contents stirring. Guys," Alex called out, his voice tight with alarm. "I think we've triggered something." Raya's fingers flew over a nearby control panel, her eyes widening as she interpreted the architect interface. "The pods are entering an awakening sequence. If we don't stop it, thousands of these hybrids will be released." Justin's heart pounded as he realized the gravity of their situation. "We can't let that happen. The consequences for both our species would be catastrophic." As they scrambled to find a way to halt the awakening process, a new alert blared through the chamber. Arya's voice cut through the chaos. "Warning! A distress signal has been activated. Long-range sensors detect a massive architect vessel approaching via hyperspace." The trio exchanged looks of growing dread as they realized their discovery had just become a race against time. With the hybrid beings on the verge of awakening and an architect ship bearing down on them, they would have to act fast to escape with the crucial information they had uncovered. Information that could forever change the course of human and gamelan history. The trio exchanged grim looks as they processed the gravity of their discovery. The hybrid beings in the stasis pods and the approaching architect vessel left them with precious little time to act. "We need to get this information back to our people," Justin said, his voice tight with urgency. "It changes everything." Raya nodded, her fingers already dancing across the ship's control panel. "Arya, plot us a course back to the gamelan system. We need to move fast." As the AI complied, the ship hummed to life, its systems responding to Raya's commands with uncanny precision. They shot out of the architect outpost, narrowly avoiding the massive vessel that loomed into view as they cleared the asteroid field. The journey back to Gamelan was tense, with Alex constantly monitoring their pursuers and Justin and Raya taking turns at the helm. As they approached the system, however, a new threat emerged. "Multiple energy signatures detected," Arya announced. "Analysis indicates an ongoing space battle." The viewport filled with a chaotic scene. Admiral Voss's rogue fleet engaged in fierce combat with a mixed force of human and gamelan ships. Explosions bloomed silently in the void, and streams of weapons fire crisscrossed the black expanse. "This is insane," Alex muttered, his military training kicking in as he assessed the situation. Voss must have decided to make his move. Justin leaned forward, his mind racing. "We can't let this derail everything. Raya, can we use the cloaking technology to slip past?" She nodded, her expression determined. "Already on it. Arya, engage full stealth protocols." The ship's exterior shimmered, becoming nearly invisible against the starfield. With expert precision, Raya guided them through the battle lines, narrowly avoiding stray weapons fire that threatened to reveal their position. As they entered Gamelan's atmosphere, a particularly close blast rocked the ship. Alarms blared as they fought to maintain control. "Shields holding," Arya reported. "Minor damage to the port stabilizers." They broke through the cloud cover, the sprawling expanse of Gamelon City coming into view. Raya directed the ship towards a secluded area on the outskirts, touching down with a gentle thud. As the trio emerged from the ship, they were met by a small group, led by a familiar face. Dr. Reeves approached, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "Thank goodness you're all right," she said, embracing Raya briefly before turning to the others. "We've been monitoring the situation. Things have escalated." Justin nodded grimly. "We noticed, but we've got information that could change everything." Dr. Reeves ushered them towards a waiting transport. "Fill me in on the way. We've set up a command center in the city." As they sped towards Gamelon City, Justin and Raya took turns explaining their discoveries: the architect outpost, the hybrid beings, and the true nature of the conflict that had consumed both their species. Dr. Reeves listened intently, her eyes widening as she grasped the implications. "This is incredible and terrifying. We need to get this information out immediately." They arrived at a fortified building in the heart of the city. Inside, a joint team of human and Gamelon personnel worked feverishly at various stations. Commander Zara, the Gamelon military leader, strode over to meet them. "Report," she demanded, her tone brusque but tinged with respect. Alex quickly brought her up to speed on the space battle, while Justin and Raya shared their findings about the architects. As they spoke, a plan began to form. "We need to broadcast this information to everyone in the system," Justin said. "It's the only way to stop this madness and unite against the real threat." Commander Zara nodded, her expression grim. "Agreed, but our communications array was damaged in the initial attack. We don't have the range." Raya's eyes lit up. "The ship, its systems are far more advanced. We could use it to boost the signal." Dr. Reeves was already moving towards a communications terminal. "Let's do it. I'll prepare the data package." Within minutes, they had established a link between the command center and their alien vessel. Justin and Raya worked in tandem, their unique connection to the ship allowing them to push its systems to new limits. "Broadcast ready," Arya announced, transmitting on all frequencies. The message went out, carrying with it the truth about the architect's manipulation and visual evidence of the hybrid beings. As it spread across the system, they watched the reactions unfold on the monitoring screens. Confusion rippled through the attacking forces. Ships began to break formation, their crews clearly conflicted about how to proceed. But one vessel remained resolutely on course, Admiral Voss's flagship. "He's not stopping," Alex said, his voice tight with alarm. "He's directing all fire on the city." Justin's mind raced, searching for a solution. "The ship's weapons. We could use them to intercept." Raya's eyes widened as an idea struck her. "Better yet, we can link it to Gamelon's defense grid, create a shield large enough to protect the entire city." They sprinted back to the ship, leaving Dr. Reeves and Commander Zara to coordinate the ground defense. As they entered the cockpit, Justin and Raya's hands met on the control panel. A surge of energy pulsed through the ship, displays flickering to life with newfound intensity. "New interface detected," Arya reported, "connecting to Gamelon Defense Network." Outside, a massive energy shield began to form, enveloping the city in a shimmering dome of protection. Voss's attack slammed into it, the destructive energy dissipating harmlessly against the barrier. "It worked," Alex exclaimed, watching as the shield held firm against the onslaught. With the immediate threat neutralized, they turned their attention to locating Voss's flagship. The ship's advanced sensors quickly pinpointed its position, and they relayed the coordinates to the Allied forces. "Look," Raya said, pointing to the tactical display. "They're surrounding him." They watched as the combined human Gamelon fleet moved to disable Voss's ship, effectively ending the last remnants of the conflict that had divided their species for so long. As the battle subsided, Justin, Raya, and Alex found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Leaders from both species converged on the command center, eager to hear firsthand about the architect threat and the potential for cooperation their unique team represented. Dr. Reeves approached them, her expression a mix of excitement and trepidation. "We've only begun to scratch the surface of the data you recovered," she said. "But what we've found, it goes far beyond just our two species." Justin and Raya exchanged glances, realizing that their journey was just getting started. As discussions of forming a permanent alliance against the architects began around them, they knew that their role in shaping the future of both their peoples, and perhaps the galaxy itself, was only just beginning. The fate of not just their own species, but perhaps countless others across the galaxy, now rested in their hands. As the leaders continued their discussions, Dr. Reeves pulled Justin and Raya aside. Her eyes gleamed with excitement as she spoke in hushed tones. "I've made a breakthrough in understanding the alien technology, the ship's systems. They can be further enhanced by a deeper biological connection between a human and a gamelon." Justin's brow furrowed. "What do you mean exactly?" Dr. Reeves glanced around, ensuring they weren't overheard. "Your unique bond. It could be the key to unlocking the full potential of the alien craft. I'd like to run some experiments if you're willing." Raya and Justin exchanged looks, a silent understanding passing between them. Raya nodded. "We're in. What do you need us to do?" Over the next few days, Justin and Raya found themselves in a specially outfitted lab aboard the alien vessel. Dr. Reeves had set up an array of equipment, connecting them to the ship's neural interface. As they lay side by side, electrodes attached to their temples, Justin felt a familiar tingle as the ship's systems engaged. "Initiating neural link," Arya's voice echoed through the chamber. "Synchronizing human and gamelon brainwaves." Justin gasped as a flood of sensations washed over him. It was unlike anything he'd experienced before, as if his consciousness had expanded, merging with both the ship and Raya simultaneously. He could feel her presence in his mind, her thoughts and emotions intertwining with his own. Raya's eyes widened, her hand instinctively reaching for Justin's. As their fingers intertwined, the connection intensified. The ship's displays flickered to life, star charts and coordinates materializing before them. "Incredible," Dr. Reeves murmured, furiously taking notes. "The ship is revealing information we've never seen before. These must be other worlds where the architects have conducted experiments." As the sessions continued, Justin and Raya's connection deepened. They found themselves finishing each other's sentences, anticipating each other's movements. During combat simulations, they moved as one, the ship responding to their combined will with uncanny precision. However, their growing bond didn't go unnoticed. Whispers began to circulate through the ranks of both humans and gamelons. Some viewed their relationship with awe, while others eyed them with suspicion. Commander Zara cornered them after a particularly intense training session. "Your abilities are impressive," she said, her tone carefully neutral. "But there are concerns about the nature of your connection. Some fear you may be evolving into something beyond either of our species." Justin bristled at the implication. "We're still who we've always been. This connection, it's just allowing us to do what needs to be done." Before the commander could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed to the command center, where a grim-faced technician pointed to a long-range sensor display. "Massive energy signatures detected," he reported. "It's an architect fleet, larger than anything we've encountered before. They're on an intercept course." The room erupted into a flurry of activity as leaders from both species scrambled to formulate a response. Justin and Raya stood quietly, their minds already in sync. "We have an idea," Raya announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. All eyes turned to them as she continued. "The Unity, our ship. We believe we can use its advanced capabilities to lead a preemptive strike." Justin nodded, picking up where she left off. "During our last session, we discovered the ship might be capable of creating localized wormholes. If we can master that ability, we could outmaneuver the architects, hit them before they reach our system." A tense silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Finally, Dr. Reeves spoke. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance. We need to act fast." The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Justin and Raya worked tirelessly with their newly assigned crew, a mix of elite human and gamelon personnel. As they trained, the bond between the co-commanders continued to strengthen. On the eve of their departure, Justin found Raya alone in the Unity's observation deck. She stood silently, gazing out at the stars. Without a word, he moved beside her, their hands finding each other instinctively. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly. Raya turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "As long as we're together, I'm ready for anything." Their lips met, and in that moment, it was as if the entire ship came alive around them. New systems flickered to life, holographic displays shimmering into existence. They broke apart, staring in wonder at the newly awakened capabilities of their vessel. As dawn broke over the joint human-Gamelon space station, the Unity prepared for launch. Justin and Raya stood on the bridge, their crew at the ready. Through the view screen, they could see the gathered crowds below, a sea of faces from both species, united in hope and trepidation. "All systems operational," Arya reported, "awaiting your command." Justin and Raya shared a final look, their commitment unshakable. Together, they input the coordinates for their first jump. "Unity, launch," they commanded in unison. The ship rose gracefully from the launch pad, ascending rapidly through the atmosphere. As they broke free of the planet's gravity, the vast expanse of space opened up before them. Somewhere out there, the Architect fleet approached, unaware of the challenge that awaited them. Justin took a deep breath, his hand finding Raya's once more. "Prepare for wormhole generation," he ordered. As the Unity's engines hummed with power, the co-commanders focused their combined will on the task ahead. The fate of two species, and perhaps countless others, now rested in their hands. Hands. With a shared nod of dedication, Justin and Raya activated the wormhole drive. The Unity's engines thrummed with power, the deck vibrating beneath their feet as reality itself seemed to warp around them. A swirling vortex of energy materialized before the ship, its iridescent surface rippling like water. Without hesitation, Justin and Raya guided the Unity into the wormhole's maw. For a breathless moment, the universe outside ceased to exist. Then, with a flash of blinding light, they emerged on the other side. The vast expanse of space stretched out before them, dotted with the distant pinpricks of stars. But it was the massive collection of ships looming ahead that drew their attention. "Arya, full sensor sweep," Justin commanded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. As the data streamed in, Raya's brow furrowed. "Something's not right," she muttered, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Their formation, it's too perfect." Justin leaned in, studying the readouts. "You're right, it's almost like they're creating some kind of energy field detected." Arya's voice cut through the tension. "Massive power drain imminent upon entering the affected area." Raya's eyes widened. "A trap," she breathed. "They were expecting us." Justin's mind raced, analyzing and discarding strategies in rapid succession. Suddenly, an idea struck him. "The wormholes," he said, turning to Raya. "We can use them to outflank the Architects, hit them from multiple angles at once." Raya nodded, already expanding on the plan. "And if we use decoy maneuvers to confuse their targeting systems, we might just have a chance," Justin finished, a grin spreading across his face. As one, they turned to address their crew. "Battle stations!" they commanded in unison, their voices ringing with authority. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the Unity's crew sprang into action. Justin and Raya moved in perfect synchronicity, their enhanced connection allowing them to coordinate complex maneuvers without a word spoken between them. The Unity darted and weaved through space, opening wormholes with surgical precision. Each portal disgorged a barrage of fire against the Architect vessels before closing just as quickly, leaving the enemy scrambling to track their position. "Evasive pattern Delta!" Raya called out, her hands flying over the controls. The Unity rolled and banked, narrowly avoiding a searing beam of energy that crackled past their starboard side. Justin focused on their offensive strategy, his mind melding with the ship's weapon systems. "Targeting their power core," he announced, unleashing a salvo of missiles through a newly opened wormhole. The bridge crew watched in awe as their co-commanders worked in flawless tandem, their movements and decisions flowing together like a perfectly choreographed dance. The Unity responded to their slightest impulse, pushing the limits of its advanced technology. As the battle raged on, Arya's voice cut through the chaos. "Anomalous signal detected. Origin, Architect vessel on Vector 227 Mark III. Justin and Raya exchanged a quick glance, a silent conversation passing between them in an instant. It could be a trick, Raya cautioned. Or it could be the key to turning this fight in our favor, Justin countered. After a moment's hesitation, Raya nodded her agreement. Helm, set course for the source of that signal, Justin ordered. Weapons, stand ready. As they approached the stricken vessel, the true nature of the situation became clear. It wasn't an architect ship at all, but a battered transport vessel of unfamiliar design. Life signs detected, Arya reported. Multiple species present. None match known architect physiology. Raya's eyes widened. Prisoners, she breathed. They're transporting captives. Justin made a split-second decision. Prepare boarding teams. We're getting those people out of there. As the rescue operation commenced, Justin and Raya found themselves face-to-face with a diverse group of aliens, each bearing the haunted look of those who had suffered under the architect's rule. Among them, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin stepped forward. I am Zara of the Valorians, she announced, her voice melodious despite the strain evident in her features. On behalf of all those you've saved, I thank you. As Zara shared her tale of the Valorians' resistance against the architects, Justin and Raya realized the magnitude of what they'd stumbled upon. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was the key to potentially turning the tide of the entire war. We need to get this information back to the Alliance immediately, Raya said urgently. Justin nodded, but his expression was conflicted. We can't abandon the fight here. The architects are still a threat. After a moment of tense deliberation, they came to a decision. They would split their forces. Justin would lead the continued assault against the architect fleet, while Raya would escort the rescued prisoners back to Allied space. As they prepared to part ways, Justin and Raya found themselves alone in the Unity's command center. The weight of their impending separation hung heavy in the air. Be careful out there, Raya said softly, her hand resting on Justin's arm. He covered her hand with his own, feeling the familiar tingle of their connection. You too. I'll see you soon. As Raya's shuttle detached from the Unity, Justin felt a pang of loss. Their mental link, so strong when they were together, began to fade with distance. He pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the task at hand. All right, team, he addressed the remaining crew. Let's show these architects what we're made of. With rekindled dedication, Justin led the Unity back into the fray, the ship's systems humming with energy as they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Unity surged forward, its advanced systems humming with power as Justin guided it through the chaos of battle. Hours passed in a blur of tactical maneuvers and precision strikes. Justin's connection to the ship grew stronger with each passing moment, allowing him to push its capabilities to their limits. Yet even as he focused on the immediate threat, a part of him yearned for Raya's presence, acutely aware of the void left by her absence. As the last of the architect's ships retreated, Justin allowed himself a moment of relief. The crew erupted into cheers, their faces etched with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. But their celebration was short-lived. Incoming transmission, Arya announced. Priority channel from Gamelon. Justin straightened, his fatigue forgotten. Put it through. Dr. Reeves's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of excitement and urgency. Justin, we need you and Raya back on Gamelon immediately. We've made a breakthrough. Within hours, the Unity was racing back to Gamelon, pushing its engines to the limit. Justin paced the bridge, his mind racing with possibilities. As they entered orbit, he spotted Raya's shuttle making its approach. Their reunion on the landing pad was brief but intense, their enhanced connection flaring to life as soon as they were in proximity. Without a word, they hurried to the research facility where Dr. Reeves and his team awaited. The lab was a hive of activity, screens displaying complex genetic sequences and simulations. Dr. Reeves ushered them to a quiet corner, his eyes bright with excitement. We've done it, he said, his voice low. We've found a way to permanently reverse the effects of the bioweapon. Justin and Raya exchanged a glance, hope and trepidation mingling in their shared consciousness. That's incredible, Raya breathed. How? Dr. Reeves hesitated, his excitement tempered by caution. It requires a combination of human and gamelan DNA, specifically yours. The implications hit them like a physical force. Justin found his voice first. What exactly does that mean for us? The scientist took a deep breath. We need to merge your genetic codes even further. The procedure is risky. It will alter you on a fundamental level. Silence fell over the lab as Justin and Raya processed the information. Through their mental link, they shared a whirlwind of emotions: fear, hope, commitment. Finally, they turned to each other, a silent agreement passing between them. "We'll do it," they said in unison. The next few hours were a blur of preparation. As they lay side by side on adjacent medical platforms, their hands intertwined, Justin felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. He turned his head to meet Raya's gaze, finding strength in her unwavering drive. Dr. Reeves stood at the control panel, his finger hovering over the activation switch. "Are you ready?" Justin squeezed Raya's hand. "We're ready." Energy fields shimmered into existence around them, bathing their bodies in a soft, pulsating glow. Justin gasped as he felt the process begin, a sensation like liquid fire coursing through his veins. Beside him, Raya's grip tightened, her face contorted in a mirror of his own discomfort. Their shared mental space became a maelstrom of sensation and emotion. Justin felt as if he were being unmade and remade, molecule by molecule. He clung to Raya's presence, their consciousnesses intertwining even as their physical forms were reshaped. Time lost all meaning. It could have been minutes or hours before the energy fields faded, leaving them bathed in sweat and gasping for breath. As Justin's vision cleared, he turned to look at Raya and froze in amazement. Her features had subtly shifted, taking on a blend of human and gamelan characteristics. Her skin now had a faint, shimmering quality, while her eyes held depths he had never seen before. From her expression, he knew she was seeing similar changes in him. But the physical alterations paled in comparison to the transformation of their mental link. Where before there had been a strong connection, now there was a seamless melding of minds. Justin could perceive Raya's thoughts and feelings as clearly as his own, their sensory experiences overlapping and enhancing each other. As they sat up, still marveling at their new state of being, Dr. Reeves approached with a medical scanner. His eyes widened as he reviewed the results. "Extraordinary," he murmured. "Your DNA, it's perfectly integrated. And your brainwave patterns—" Justin barely heard him, too caught up in the wonder of his new existence. He and Raya stood, moving in perfect synchronicity. As they faced each other, words seemed unnecessary. They simply embraced, reveling in the completeness of their union. Their moment of peace was short-lived. The lab doors slid open, admitting a group of high-ranking officials from both human and gamelan governments. The newcomers stopped short, staring at Justin and Raya with a mixture of awe and unease. "Is it done?" one of the human admirals asked, his voice hushed. Dr. Reeves nodded, gesturing to the transformed couple. "It's done, and it's more successful than we could have hoped. With their DNA, we can begin mass-producing the cure immediately." A ripple of excitement passed through the group, but Justin could sense undercurrents of tension and fear. He and Raya stepped forward, their movements perfectly coordinated. "We understand you have questions," Raya began. "And concerns," Justin added. "But we're still us. We're just more." As they began to explain their transformation, Justin could see the mixed reactions playing out across the faces before them. Some looked inspired, others wary. He knew that their journey was nowhere near the end. In fact, it felt like it was just beginning. With their new abilities and the cure for the bioweapon within reach, they stood on the precipice of a new era for both their species. As Justin met Raya's gaze, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Two minds, two species, united as one.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.